Jack was a hardworking and ambitious person who had always been driven to succeed. He had a great job at a prestigious company, and he was always pushing himself to do better and climb the corporate ladder. However, after years of putting in long hours and sacrificing his personal life, Jack hit a wall. He experienced a strong emotional burnout and felt completely exhausted and unmotivated. He would wake up each day feeling drained and would go to work only to find himself unable to focus on his tasks. His motivation had waned, and he couldn't bring himself to put in the same level of effort he used to. At first, Jack tried to push through the burnout and keep working as usual. He thought that he could handle the stress and the workload, but soon he realized that he couldn't keep up the pace. He felt like he had lost his passion and drive, and he couldn't find the energy to keep going. Jack was constantly fatigued and found it difficult to concentrate. His work was beginning to suffer, and he knew that he needed to take action before things got worse. So, he made the difficult decision to take some time off from work to recharge and refocus. Taking some time off from work was not an easy decision for Jack. He was worried that his colleagues would see him as weak or incapable. However, he knew that he needed to take care of his mental and physical health, and that meant stepping back from his job for a while. During his time off, Jack did a lot of soul-searching. He realized that he had been neglecting his personal life and that his work had taken over everything. He had lost sight of what was truly important to him, and he knew that he needed to make some changes. Jack began to take better care of himself. He started to exercise more, eat healthier, and get more sleep. He also began to reconnect with his family and friends, whom he had neglected for so long. As he began to recharge his batteries, Jack started to think about what he wanted from his career. He realized that he had been chasing success for its own sake, without really thinking about what he wanted to achieve. He began to think about how he could find meaning and purpose in his work, and how he could make a difference in the world. By the end of his time off, Jack felt more focused and energized than he had in years. He was ready to return to work with a new perspective and a new approach. When Jack returned to work, he was determined to approach things differently. He knew that he couldn't go back to his old ways of working, and he was ready to find a better balance in his life. Jack started by focusing on meaningful work. He looked for projects that aligned with his values and passions, and he began to prioritize those over tasks that were simply assigned to him. He found that when he was working on something he cared about, he was more engaged and motivated. In addition, Jack began to make time for himself outside of work. He made sure to leave the office on time and to take breaks throughout the day. He also made time for his hobbies and interests, which gave him a sense of fulfillment outside of work. Jack's colleagues were initially skeptical of his new approach. They saw him taking breaks and leaving on time, and they wondered if he was slacking off. However, they soon began to see the positive results of his new approach. Jack was more productive than ever, and he was more positive and engaged in his work. His colleagues began to follow his lead, and soon the office culture began to shift towards a healthier work-life balance. As Jack continued to excel in his job, he found that he was happier and more fulfilled than ever before. He had found a way to balance his ambition with his personal life, and he was making a difference in the world in a way that was meaningful to him. As Jack's new approach began to pay off, he started to inspire others in the workplace. His colleagues noticed how he had transformed his approach to work and his life, and they started to ask him for advice. Jack was happy to help his colleagues find their own balance. He shared his story and encouraged others to take time off when they needed it, and to prioritize meaningful work. He also started to advocate for a better work-life balance in the workplace, and his efforts paid off as the company began to implement policies that supported employees' mental and physical health. Jack's positive influence wasn't limited to the workplace. He also inspired his friends and family to take care of themselves and to find meaning and purpose in their own lives. His story became an example of how burnout can be overcome, and how it's never too late to make a change. As Jack continued to succeed, he realized that his experience with burnout had been a gift in disguise. It had forced him to take a step back and reevaluate his life, and it had led him to find a better balance and a greater sense of fulfillment. He knew that he would never go back to his old ways of working, and he felt grateful for the chance to help others do the same. As Jack continued to excel in his job and inspire others, he caught the attention of his supervisors. They noticed the positive changes he had made and how his work had improved. They were impressed by his leadership skills and the impact he had on his colleagues. One day, Jack was called into a meeting with his boss. He was nervous, but he hoped that it was good news. When he arrived, his boss congratulated him on his work and offered him a promotion. Jack was thrilled. It was the recognition he had been working towards for so long, and it meant that he would be able to make an even greater impact in his job. However, as his boss explained the details of the promotion, Jack realized that it would require him to work longer hours and take on even more responsibility. He began to feel that old sense of burnout creeping back, and he knew that he couldn't go back to his old ways of working. Jack took a deep breath and explained his concerns to his boss. He shared his experience with burnout and explained that he was committed to finding a better work-life balance. To his surprise, his boss was supportive. He explained that the company was committed to supporting employees' mental and physical health, and that they were willing to work with Jack to find a solution that worked for everyone. Together, they worked out a plan that allowed Jack to take on the new responsibilities while still maintaining a healthy work-life balance. He was able to work from home 2 days a week and to delegate some of his tasks to other team members. This allowed him to focus on the tasks that were most important to him while still having time for his personal life. The promotion was a turning point for Jack. It showed him that he could be successful in his job without sacrificing his personal life. It also showed him that the company was committed to supporting its employees, and he felt grateful to be a part of such a positive workplace culture. As Jack settled into his new role, he took some time to reflect on his journey. He thought back to the time when he was at his lowest point, feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. He remembered how hopeless he had felt, and how he had almost given up on his dreams. But now, as he looked around at his life, he realized how much had changed. He was in a job that he loved, with colleagues who respected and valued him. He had a strong support system of friends and family who cared for him. And most importantly, he had found a sense of purpose and meaning in his life. As he reflected on his journey, Jack realized that his experience with burnout had been a wake-up call. It had forced him to reevaluate his life and to make changes that he might not have otherwise made. It had shown him that he was capable of overcoming even the toughest challenges, and that he had the strength to create a life that he loved. Looking back, Jack felt grateful for everything that had happened to him. He knew that his journey had not been easy, but he also knew that it had been worth it. He felt proud of the person he had become, and he knew that he was capable of achieving anything that he set his mind to. As he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, Jack felt a sense of peace wash over him. He knew that there would be challenges ahead, but he also knew that he had the tools and the support to overcome them. And with that thought in mind, he felt ready to face whatever the future might hold.